Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is Tony Holowitz from the John Anthony Group, and today's class and tutorial is going to be on an introduction to computers. This class is really designed for someone who's brand new to computers and is just trying to feel their way around the computer. Now, we start by seeing my computer screen, and I'm going to make an assumption here. I'm going to make an assumption that you have had the ability to turn the power button on your computer, and then when the screen comes up you see something fairly similar to what you see here. Now on my computer, over on the left hand side, you see a number of what are called icons. You see some folders, which are yellow folders and icons. Also, the desktop of the computer, all this area you can see here where it's mostly blue, mine might look a little bit different than yours. Yours might have a picture or some kind of graphic or logo on it from your computer manufacturer, but when I say the desktop, really I'm discussing all this general area on the screen where you can see all of this information. So again, that's called the desktop. Down here on the bottom, this blue bar is something called the taskbar. Now, I am using a recording tool called Camtasia Studio, and this little bar down here is just telling me that I have that piece of software open. And software is the programs that you put on your computer to run and use things like Microsoft Word, Internet Explorer for viewing the internet, and also you might have an email program on there. But as a person who is just trying to get used to your computer and get acclimated and get used to getting around the computer, that's really why I've designed this course, because I want to show you some subtle little things that will help you. First of all, I want to draw your attention to the icons, these items up here. I'm not as concerned with you knowing what they are as much as just in general understanding what they do. Right here we have this little yellow not envelope, but yeah, it's a folder actually, like you'd have a folder in your filing cabinet. Well, if you think of a folder in your filing cabinet which you can open up and see things inside, that's true of these folders as well. It's where you can store things. To the right of these folders we have some different icons, and these icons are just little items that if you click on them, usually twice, if you double click on them, they will open up and do something. And again, I'm going to illustrate that a little bit more in a little bit. But when you look at your computer, don't be too concerned about some of the icons. The icons I have and the icons you have on your computer are most likely different, but the concept is the same. What I want to show you is that I can take one of these icons or one of these folders and I can actually move it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the bottom and just click on this little icon right here, and when I click on it I'm going to hold the left mouse button down and I'm just going to drag it up to the right and sort of up to the top, and I'm going to let go of the left mouse button. So again, I clicked on it, I dragged it without letting go of the left mouse button, and then when I felt I had it in the right spot, I let go. That is called drag and drop. So you can move things by clicking on them, dragging them, and put them wherever you want and letting go. You can actually take this item, and if you want to get it out of the way, you can drag it over to one of these folders, place it on top, let go, and that would go inside the folder. I'm not going to do that right now with this particular icon. I just wanted to illustrate that point. But I do want to draw your attention to really three items on the desktop that I want you to sort of focus on. The first one right here is called My Computer. In the My Computer, the best way to think of this, in my opinion, is think of your computer like a filing cabinet. Gray filing cabinet, where to open the drawers of your filing cabinet, well, if you physically did it, you just bend down, grab the handle, and open it up. But here, this area called My Computer, if I double click on that, it's going to open up and show me, in essence, some of the drawers of the My Computer. So when we move this information, or when we look at this information, you can see some different items here. Now again, I'm not going to ask you to worry too much about this, but I want to draw your attention right here to C. That is called the local disk or My Hard Drive. That is the main filing cabinet. That's where everything gets stored. On this computer, I actually have more than one hard drive. I have a second hard drive that's labeled E. The second hard drive just is more space for me to put things. Again, I don't want you to get too caught up in that, but when I double clicked on that My Computer, this opened up and I could see inside the filing cabinet. So when you look at the My Computer, that's really the window to your computer. It's a filing cabinet, and if you think of your computer again as a filing cabinet, it will make the whole concept easier. So, to take a step back for just a moment, we have icons on the desktop. If you put your pointer on them and double click with the left mouse button, again, I'm going to come back over here to My Computer and I'm going to double click. What opens is what is called a window. Hence the name of your software, Windows XP or Windows Vista. It might vary what type of system you have, but in a nutshell, Windows is the software that runs your computer. I try to approach training in such a way that you don't have to remember everything and what it's called. Again, I liken computers to driving a car. If I said to you before you ever got into a car, you have to know the names of all the components, you have to understand how it works and why this does that and why this does that, you'd probably never get in a car. I know I'd never get in a car because I don't want to know all that stuff. I don't want to know about the engine, the electrical system, nothing. All I want to know is that I get in the car, I turn on the key, and the car starts, plain and simple. So let me backtrack for a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the top right where we have some items up here. You'll see we have a little minus sign, a couple squares, and an X. I'm going to click on the minus sign and that window is going to disappear. It's going to hide. But if you draw your attention down to the bottom of the screen, right down here where it says My Computer, that is what has occurred. I have just shrunken that window down to the bottom, what's called taskbar. If I want to open My Computer again, I can just click on this once and it will come right back up on the screen. So a lot of the things you do with your computer by clicking on them or double clicking on them, they open up as a window which you can then go up and minimize or close with the X. The middle I'm going to come back to in a little bit, but that's called restore. And I'm not going to address that right now, but I will address that in a little bit. So again, I'm just going to minimize this. Now the whole concept of Windows software is the fact that you can have multiple things open at one time. So again, let me back up for just a moment. Most of the people that take computer training these days have access to the internet. And the beauty of having access to the internet is the fact that you can get on the internet and very easily start moving around, getting to things, and having some fun with your computer with very little experience. So what I'm going to do is I want to draw your attention down here to the blue E. This blue E is the icon for a piece of software called Internet Explorer. And by double clicking on this, it is going to open up and give me access to the internet. Now, I always tell people, think of the internet like the local library, where if you decided that you want to find some information about the internet, well, what you could do, if you want to find some information about a subject, what you can do very easily is go to the library, go to the front desk, ask the librarian for information, and find out where you can find information. So when you open up Internet Explorer, what's in essence happen is you have a gateway to sort of a library or an area where you can get a lot of information. When we come on to the internet, what we're seeing right away is what is called a web page. And this area down here is a web page and it's called Google. Google is a search engine. So Google is a way that I can look for information rather easily and very efficiently. Google is the largest search engine in the world, and it's what most people use to find things. The thing I really love about the internet for computer beginners is if you can get your computer on, if you can double click on the blue icon, then what you have the ability to do is search for things on the internet. We actually have a tutorial on working on the internet. This piece of software is called Microsoft Windows Explorer 7.0. And we actually have a tutorial that gets into this in a little more detail, but for the sake of this class, I just want to illustrate how easy it is to find something. For example, I always tell people, when you go on the internet and you want to find information, have fun with it. Let your imagination go. If you have a hobby, look for information related to your hobby. If you like to cook, look for a good recipe for something to cook. So as an example of that, I'm going to show you how to find a recipe for chicken and mushrooms. So again, right here we have Google. In this little bar right here, if I click in that, we get a little flashing, blinking cursor right there. So I brought my pointer down and I just clicked in this box. I didn't have to click way over to the left. I could have clicked anywhere over to the right, anywhere in this box. It doesn't really matter. But once I clicked in that box, it gives me the ability to now type something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in chicken and mushroom recipes. Now, once I do that, I have a couple ways I can start this search. I can either click on Google search, or I can hit the enter key on my keyboard of my computer. So in this case, I'm just going to click on Google search, and we are now doing our first search on the World Wide Web, the internet. So the internet, really, the way I'd like you to think about it, I'd mentioned the library, your local library, but try to imagine if you walked into the library and you started searching for chicken and mushroom recipes, and you asked the librarian, or you went to the reference desk and you asked people for information on recipes. Well, they'd have to get up, they'd have to go look through some different cookbooks. Well, what Google does is it sort of searches for all that information without having to move. These items are things that Google has already what's called indexed. In other words, it's searched the web under the assumption you're going to ask for this information, and it's put it in a way that it can find it and access it quickly. So when we type this in, Google was easily able to return a number of searches. I want to draw your attention over here where it says results 1 of 10. As I go up and down the page, which I'll show you in a couple seconds, you're going to see that there are 10 results or 10 matches on this page. And this page is what you see from here, this white area up here, down to the white area down here. There's information down off the screen that you just can't see, and I'll show you how to get there in a second. But in that quick search, Google found 352,000 searches or matches for that search. The results we're seeing here are the first 10. So now what we have the ability to do is to look at these in a little bit more detail. When we look at the first match right here, it shows us that chicken with mushroom recipes. If we click on this link right here, and that's what this blue is, it's called a link. If we put the pointer on it, we get a little pointer that looks like a pointing finger. When we click on this link, it takes us somewhere. Now, we don't really know where at this point, but it's taking us somewhere on the web that will hopefully give us a recipe for chicken and mushrooms. So now we're visiting our first web page. To go down the page, I want to draw your attention over here on the right side of the screen. This is a scroll bar. And if we scroll up and down, and scrolling means clicking on this little blue bar, holding, again, like dragging and dropping of the icons and moving it up and down, that allows us to scroll up and down the screen. Now you can do that, but I would prefer not to have to reach for the mouse all the time. On your keyboard, there is a page up and a page down key. If you hit the page down key, it will go down one page. So I'm going to hit the page down key. So here is a list of actually more recipes that relate to chicken with mushrooms. It's actually given us more options. On the left hand side and on the right hand side, we see some advertising. This is a website, and I'm going to hit page up to go back up, called CD Kitchen, and here's the title right here. Here's some tabs for different information, and again I'm going to hit page down because I want to go down and look at some of these other recipes. The way a lot of websites make their money is by advertising, and for example, if I were to come over here and click on this advertisement, then they would probably make a few pennies. And the goal here is that if you have enough people clicking on these advertisements to be taken to more information, they'll make some money. That's the concept behind them placing advertising here. So let's look at the baked chicken and mushrooms, and I'm going to click on that. And when I click on that, what I'm hoping is it's actually going to take us to a recipe that has much more detail on that matter. So here we have our recipe for are baked chicken and mushrooms. And again, I can scroll up and down the page by clicking on the item on the left, the little scroll bar, and moving up and down. Now, most of these websites give you the option to print them out, but you can also just read it from here or print it, obviously. So they give you a lot of different options to do that. Now, again, the way this company makes their money is by hoping that by you coming to their website, they're going to make money by you clicking on one of these advertisements and be taken to more information related to what they do. Okay, so here's a quick recipe. Now, when you're on the web, that first page that I showed you, Google, I want you to think of that first page as like a magazine. And that first page is the cover of the magazine. Instead of having to open up the magazine and looking at the index, we actually just typed in the subject we were interested in. A magazine, you'd open up the first page, you'd see the index, you'd turn to the page you wanted. But the way the web is a little bit different is you just type in the information you're interested in, and you'll be taken to an area where it shows you a number of different links or resources that you can click on to learn more. So as you open up that magazine and you're going through the pages, well, to get back to the home page or the cover of the magazine, you just shut the magazine. But when you're on the internet, if you go up here on the top left and click on the left arrow, you're going to go back a page. And if you click again on the left arrow, you're going to keep going back until eventually we get back to Google, because each page we clicked on opened up and we have to sort of flip back through the pages to get back to Google. When you open up Internet Explorer, and I'm clicking a couple times here, when you open up Internet Explorer, you can tell Internet Explorer what you want the cover to be. In other words, if you want the cover to be something different, maybe you have a favorite website, well, you can set it so every time you open up Internet Explorer, it automatically opens up to that page. If you like stocks, you can have it go to your stock page. If you like recipes, you can have it go there. So that's something that you can set, which we explore a little bit more in some of our other classes. Google is my home page. So another way that I can get back to Google is if I'm at another website, let's say for example that I'm at CNN.com, and I'm just going to go up here and click on the location bar and type in CNN. I'm going to hold the control key down and hit enter. That's the shortcut for putting in the www and the .com. Well, if I'm at another web page and I decide, you know what, I want to do something different, I want to get back, instead of having to click backwards through a lot of pages, I can just simply come up here, and this little icon right here, the little house or the home, will take me back to my home page. So wherever I am, to get back to Google very quickly, I can just click right on here. Very, very simple. So by clicking on that item, it takes me right back to Google. And it's just a shortcut. So think of it like I'm in the middle of a magazine. I don't want to flip back through all the pages to get back to the cover. I just click on the little house. I want to thank you for being part of this tutorial. This tutorial was just to give you a broad overview of some of the things you could do when you get into your computer a little bit. Just show you how to use the desktop. And also, the internet, in my opinion, is the great equalizer, because even if you're not a person who would ever see yourself using a computer for business or for other reasons, you know, maybe accounting or keeping track of your checking account, things of that nature, the internet is really the great equalizer, because in my opinion, if you have any curiosities, the internet is a great place to take those curiosities and learn about the world. My name is Tony Holowitz, and I want to thank you very much for being here. Have a great day.